Hi there, I'm Bernadette Hunt. I'm the Vice President of Southland Federated Farmers. I'm standing in a winter crop paddock that we grazed off over the winter, and I just want to show you what it looks like at the moment. Today's the 11th of November. You can probably see that this paddock hasn't been recultivated behind me, and I'm just going to give you a closer look at that. So this paddock had R1 cattle on it, 1-year-old cattle on it for the winter eating chow or kale, and they didn't make a particular mess in here. We had a fairly kind winter, but you can see that, you know, there was a bit of mud, and up this way was where the bale feeders were, and it was a lot muddier, but it's really capped off. It's gone, the ground's now very, very hard. Yeah, it's like rock hard. I can't even break that off. And that's the same all over the paddock. It's solid, really firm underneath. There's not loose topsoil. It's certainly not still muddy. It's really firm. So there is no risk of any of this running down the side of a hill if we were to get a rain event, even if it was a pretty significant one. You could argue, if it's so dry, why haven't we cultivated it yet? The reason we haven't cultivated it yet is because we're going to be putting another crop of chow in here for next season, for next winter 2021. If we plant chow or Swedes too early, then we have little plants in the ground that are at risk of being frosted. We still get frost sometimes at this time of year, and so we don't want those little plants with their heads up above the ground when we get a frost, because what that can do, or what it does do, is mean that they go reproductive or go to seed much earlier than they should, which means that come the middle of winter, when we're in the middle of feeding these crops off, they've gone to seed. And you think about broccoli in your garden. We eat broccoli when the head's nice and tight and green. We don't eat it once the head's gone all loose and has to start a little yellow flowers on it. Kale and Swedes are the same. The cattle don't want to eat it once it's started going to seed. It loses its nutritional value, and it can actually also make them really sick and even kill them if they eat lots of kale or Swedes that have got some of the properties that they develop once they go reproductive. So we don't want to plant this paddock yet. It'll get planted in a couple of weeks' time, because we need that kale to be really high quality nutritional feed for the winter period. Right, we're going to go down now to the bottom of the paddock and have a look at a critical source area at the bottom of the hill, and show you how we've looked after that to deal with any runoff from this paddock if it does happen. So here we are now at the bottom of that valley, and here's the critical source area. This area was not grazed right through the winter. It was left completely uncultivated, never sprayed off when we were originally planting the crop, and left uncultivated and ungrazed all through grazing. So we've had it fenced off with Waratah fences, and the stock couldn't get in here. And the idea of that is that it creates a filter. If we do get any runoff of soil from the hill, the idea is that this creates like a filter and captures the sediment. As you can see, there hasn't really been any. This is where the fence was, obviously, and this is where we came to feed the cattle every day. This is where we started, so they'd always congregate down here and say hello to us in the morning, which is why it's a bit muddier down here than it looks further up. But even this is where it was muddiest, and it's rock solid. I actually can't break, well, it comes off in chunks, but there is no way, even if we get a big rain event, that we're going to get massive amounts of this flowing off the paddock. The little bit that might is going to get captured. The paddock up on top of the hill there that you can see has been recultivated since the winter. It was cultivated about a week before the 1st of November, and it's got barley in it. We're going to go have a quick look at that right now, and I'll just show you the difference in the soil. Right, so here I am now in that cultivated paddock that I showed you before. Over there is the winter crop paddock that I was just in. See the trough at the top of the hill that I was standing near? But now I'm in this paddock which has been cultivated with barley. It was cultivated probably about a week before the 1st of November, and you can see the wee barley shoots that are growing. But what I want to show you here is the ground. See, it's much finer soil. It's fine. It's been freshly cultivated, much more mobile. If we were to have a large rain event, there is a chance that some of this would go running down the hill, carried by the water. But the thing is, the bottom of the hill down there, which is where the water collects, we've got an uncultivated area, and actually what you can't see is that the water travels much further through the long grass, before it goes into the neighbour's drain. There's no river anywhere near here, but it does go through neighbours' open ditches and stuff when it leaves our property, and when there's a risk of runoff like there is from this paddock, we protect it by not cultivating areas that it's going to run through first. We also think about things like the sowing direction and that kind of thing, so that we minimise the risk of anything running off. But we are putting things in place so that any mobile soil doesn't get to waterways. But the point I want to make here is that paddock over there that had the winter crop in does not present a risk to water quality right now just because it hasn't been recultivated. Recultivating that by the 1st of November has no benefit to water quality. As you saw, that ground is so firm that it doesn't actually matter what happens with the weather. It's not going to cause a whole lot of sediment to run to water. On the other hand, this, which has been cultivated, actually poses a higher risk. As I mentioned, we're protecting it from those risks. We're mitigating the risks by having the critical source areas protected. But don't tell us that not cultivating that winter crop paddock is a risk to water quality. It's not. We want to have things growing in paddocks as soon as it's the right time. This paddock is productive. It's growing barley, and that will be harvested in the autumn. The other paddock over there isn't currently productive because nothing's growing in it, but I've explained the reasons why we haven't cultivated it yet. It'll be cultivated in a couple of weeks when it's the right time for the crop. So that's the key message here. Sowing crops by the 1st of November, or in other parts of the country by the 1st of October, will not have any benefit to water quality.